guys, on this episode of Building the Exocet, I'm going over my custom wiring harness for the Exocet. Now I have really slacked off in showing you guys kind of all the different things I had to do in order to build this wiring harness. It was just way too complicated to shoot on video. So I'm just going to kind of show you guys what it looks like in the car, what all the components are, what I used, what I would do differently, and just give you guys an overall feel of how everything works and what I did for that. So let's get over to the car and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so I think on my last video I showed you guys kind of what it looked like, just the looms laying loosely on the car, and I believe the car starting. It's been about a month and a half since I shot that video, so I can't quite remember what I've shown you guys. Usually the videos that I'm shooting here are about 2 months behind my actual progress on the car. If you follow my Instagram page, you will get every couple days an update on where I actually am with the car. So first off, please excuse all these red splices. These are temporary. Those are not a good idea to be using in an automotive environment, really at all. Stereos, anything. While one or two here or there may not be an issue, they can, one, they aren't watertight, but two, they can come loose and they aren't necessarily a good connection. So these are temporary. All these joints are going to be soldered. So basically, this is a reenactment, if you will, of the Miata 1992 wiring harness, just in a completely different layout, but everything really, for the most part, stays the same, except for the systems that I didn't need. As you can see over here, there's an immense amount of wiring that came out of the car. There's probably about 10 pounds or so of wires that are not used from the car that were removed. ABS, cruise control, a lot of different ECU systems, interior lights, radio, HVAC, probably about a third of the dash lights and different things were discarded that are not going to be used, warning lights, buzzers, things like that. So there's a lot of wire cut out of the car here. So now I'm just going to take a minute and kind of go through, first off here, basically the ignition system to the car, and then I'll follow through and show you different fuse panels and relays that you'll be dealing with. None of this has been cable tied or anything like that, so it's very loose in here. As you can see, my ECU, this is just the stock ECU for now. My Mega Squirt's getting repaired because I blew the first one up. More on that later in another video. But nothing's finished or loomed or anything like that. I still have all the wires ran just loosely in their respective locations. First off, I have an 80 amp. This is basically a quick breaker instead of using a fuse. If it pops, goes like that, you just flip that switch to redo the circuit. What happens here basically is all my power goes first to the starter from the battery, then runs up off of that into this fuse. Now my ignition switch and some other things are on a different side of the fuse because they are not fused the same way. And then that basically runs off this and powers. I have an A block and a B block and a ground block. So all my grounds go to here, and then there's a main ground, I think it was a 6-gauge ground cable that runs over here to the head. I have 4-gauge ground wires from the head to the chassis, and I welded basically a bolt onto there for a chassis point. Battery grounds, as you can see here, my custom battery mount, and then also a ground going from the battery negative out through the back wall and to the power plant frame. That's also a 4-gauge wire. Basically, I just cut up the negative battery cable that I didn't need and reuse. So all the wiring on this is still OEM color-coded, so I can still reference the Miata wiring diagram for 92 Miata and not be completely confused by wire color. Basically, like I said, this powers over to fuse block A, and then my back to normal fuse goes over and powers fuse block B. As you can see, I have fan and back to normal here. I have O2 sensor, which this is actually going to move because this is not a switched switch 12 volt as I thought it was. I have a fuse for my Megasquirt, which I'm going to actually just use an inline fuse, stoplights, and hazards. Then up here I have a whole nother fuse block for my injectors, my headlights, starter, engine, I can't remember what that one's for, my meter fuse, which is not hooked up, and my taillight fuse. So these are all independently fused. These here all basically work off the same power source and then go out to their respective circuits. So this one's just kind of a whatever you need to. Really, this is more somewhat the fuses that are underneath your driver's side dash to that fuse box. These are more fuses that were the engine bay fuse box. Yeah, like I said, I can't get too in depth into this, but basically next part here is, you know, I have my intake air temperature for my Megasquirt drilled into here. I have my throttle position sensor, wires, and I think there's something else over here. I can't remember that's in this bundle. Oh, alternator, oil pressure, starter, you know, things like that, running up there through the firewall. Then coming around to this side, really there's not many wires on this side. There's a brake fluid warning light, which I really didn't need to do, but I did. Headlight wires are here. I've not hooked those up yet. Fan wire, I have to hook that up still. And then these are, once again, running under here. I have my coolant reroute, coolant sensor down there. That wire's in here, as well as my cam angle sensor, my coils, fuel injection wires all running up into here. The idea with this that's really hard is, since I'm pulling the car apart, everything has to be removed. So I designed everything in this wiring tray so that everything can be basically pulled through these holes and basically pulled from those holes and pulled out through the wiring tray. So everything can come out through here when I go to dismantle the car. So before I do that, once I get everything checked with the Megasquirt, everything's running good, I get my sequential fuel injection hooked up, I got to rewire the injectors for that. Then I'm going to go ahead and loom everything. In here, I don't think I'm going to loom it, I'm just going to zip tie it so I can have my color-coded access and so forth. Also, another thing I have, here's my clutch switch in here. This clip can be removed, and that's kind of an anti-theft device. So somebody would not be able to start the car unless they basically were to know where this switch is or be able to reach up, know where it is, pull the clip off. My Innovate Motorsports LC2 wideband is there, the controller, and then the wideband O2s down there. Here are my relays. I have 4 relays here, turn signal relay, and my main relays here. I don't like this location for it, but it's there. It's going to stay there. So basically have my opening relay, fuel pump relay, if you will, my fan, cooling fan relay, headlight relay, and my flasher relay all wired up here. Then basically using the stock dash here, or gauge pod here. So you can see I only have a few wires here, several in here, compared to the stock amount of wires. Then coming down to the combination switch here, these wires run out. Some I'm using, some I'm not. Here's some airbag wires I got to pull this apart and figure out what to do with. Got my brake light switch there, you know, and then the only other thing really, I mean, it's pretty, it looks very complex here, but it's actually very, very simple. There's probably about 20 wires that run the entire engine in the car, all the sensors, most of it's sensors, but you know, if you have fuel and spark, really it's just sensors controlling the engine through the ECU. So it looks very confusing, but it's really, once you break the wiring diagram down and learn it, it's not as difficult as you see them on an Exocet, because you lose, as you can see, all those wires, and all those are interior stuff, door switches, lights, you know, cigarette lighter light, you know, just stuff like that that's pretty pointless. So the other thing is the rear wires, tail lights, reverse lights, fuel pump. Those actually run, let me try to find that wire here if I can. I don't know why I can't see it. It's down there somewhere. Anyways, so the tail light wires, they're in a loom, I just can't see it, actually run, oh, there they are, right down there. Right here, that's tail light and fuel pump wires, run underneath the tunnel, and then I already had these loomed because to put them in the car. Then it runs basically up through here into the rear of the car. So fuel pump, basically what you have is you have two wires, can't remember what they're for, one's power, one's signal, or something like that. And then there's two grounds coming off that. I put a rib nut here into this tube for my grounding. And then these extra grounds here, this is the stock grounding block. These extra wires here will be for grounding of my tail lights for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the wiring. I know I'm making it seem probably more simple than it is when you see that mess of wires, but it's takes time. But if you're, I know nothing about car wiring and was able to do this. And once I got the stock ECU plugged in, I had a couple ground issues that I had to upgrade here. I also forgot to wire all my sensor grounds into each other in the ECU. But once I had that ground figured out, first try started right up, which was pretty astonishing. Yeah, so still got to wire up headlights. I do have this wire here is actually for my turn signals, which I don't, if you're in a state that, let me find them here, that, there's legal requirements, these probably won't work for you, but here's my turn signal, or my side view mirrors, and as you can see, they have built-in LED turn signal. These will be mounted, about in this location here. And this should do for not having to run front turn signals. It's basically a motorcycle side view mirror. This way I can just run headlamps only here and have these turn signals there, and I don't have to have a separate turn signal light next to my headlight. So headlight also right here, this little guy. Extremely ugly. I like the, what are they, the dual projector ones, whatever they were, but they were around $200 a pop, and I didn't feel like spending $400 on headlights. And I wanted just single versions of those, not the dual. Can't remember what they're called now. They're Exomotive sells them, a few other companies. They're pretty popular. Lots of guys use them on the Exocet. They just weren't for me, I don't think. I couldn't find a single version of them just to have a single beam, because I'm not going to run high beams. I really would rather not run headlights because I'm not really going to want to drive this car at night anyways. But yeah, so anyways, done being long-winded. Just wanted to show you guys an overview of the wiring. If you have questions, ask me. I can do my best to help you out. But it's, it's something you kind of got to do yourself and learn yourself. Other thing is I have bolt holes here. The Megasquirt 3 is going to be mounted under the wiring tray there. It's just a better position for being able to plug in the tuning cable. And then eventually there will be, I believe there's going to be a tablet screen here running the Tuner Studio Shadow Dash. And that's going to have, I'm going to use these analog, the TAC and the Speedo, the analog versions of that on my dash here, fuel, things like that. And then in that location, I'm going to actually go ahead and get my pyrometer view, oil pressure, fuel pressure, battery voltage, boost gauge, everything like that showing up on that tablet screen, because I can modify it whenever I want to different displays, different gauges, everything like that. So that'll be pretty cool, but that'll be coming in the future down the road. Right now the concentration is getting the car going. So anyways, done now. If you like this, please subscribe down below and hit like. I appreciate it, guys. See you next time.